Hey guys, so today we have a Nintendo video and I haven't posted in a minute and it's been super busy on my main channel. As you guys know, I do a drama commentary channel and it's just been so much happening. So yeah, I just didn't have time to post. So I have a few shorter videos for you guys before I start doing more Let's Plays. Let me know any games you guys would want to see. I know you guys already gave some recommendations and they all sound amazing. So yeah, just let me know anything you guys want to see. So subscribe, hit that bell, like, comment for engagement, and let's get into the video. Today's video is inspired by, I'm not actually sure how to pronounce her channel name. It's always like difficult to try and look for it, but this is her. She did a hot takes that she has about Nintendo and just like unpopular opinions or hot takes or just opinions, and I thought I'd add some of my own, bring in some of hers that I thought were pretty interesting. So let's just get into that. My first hot take is that Pokemon has been quite disappointing since probably halfway through the 3DS. Like I think once I got past like the two first games on the 3DS, it really started becoming really disappointing. Everything felt empty, the same. I just felt like you were playing the same game over and over again, and that didn't change for the Switch. I think I kept on buying the Pokemon games but then just like not playing them because like I still felt the need to collect them and have them, but then like when it came down to sitting down and playing them, it really wasn't all there. And I know people are super excited about every new Pokemon game that comes out and everyone makes excuses for Pokemon as a game franchise, but I just at some point refused to make any more excuses for them. Like the games just seemed so soulless, like they just didn't have anything to them except for Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. Like I know that there were so many performance issues, so many glitches, so many like problems with the game. The game was clearly not finished when it was released, but it was the only game that felt like it had a soul, which even then, like the world is so empty, the shops are not finished. Like you literally click on the shop and instead of walking into the shop, you just get like a menu that pops up, which is so disappointing. But even with all of that, that game is the least disappointing Pokemon game that's been released in the last like 10 years. So maybe more of that, but with like better performance. I think they should port over more games from the Wii and the 3DS, or at least continue some series and some franchises in a really interesting way. I actually know that Nintendogs is coming as a mobile game soon, which I think is so nice. Obviously for the Switch, Nintendogs wouldn't really work considering, yeah, there's a touchscreen kind of on the Switch, but it's also a docked console, so you'd have to try and like get it as a docked and then yada yada, but they're gonna make it as a mobile game, which I think is actually a really good choice. I think Nintendogs has always felt a bit like a mobile game, but I think port over more Wii games, port over more 3DS games, continue some good series. I would pay any money for just reliving some of my 3DS and Wii games. I think Fantasy Life on the 3DS was amazing. I think I'd love to see it on the Switch. I know there's some similar kind of games. I don't know if Faith Farm is coming out, which kind of feels similar, but it's not the same. I would have loved for Professor Layton to continue. I know that's not really possible, and they tried to continue the Professor Layton series with Catriel, but that was a flop. It was awful. I don't like that game at all. I think it's so empty feeling as well. Mainly compared to Professor Layton. I think if it wasn't a continuation of the Professor Layton series, it would have been taken a lot differently. But considering it was a continuation of the series or like a branch off, just being associated with something as amazing as Professor Layton, like there was just no way out unless you literally stick with the same characters, and I think just this didn't work. But I would just do anything for these old games to come to the Switch and to continue some series. I think port over more games. Mainly because obviously recently filmed a video about how we want the Switch 2 or Switch Pro to come out soon. Now there have been some more rumors saying that the Switch won't come until late 2024, early 2025. I mean, until then, please port over all the games, considering this console is just sticking around forever, you know? On the same note, actually, it's funny that I wrote that. I need a more powerful Switch. Like, I'm starting to become kind of tired with how the Switch feels. A lot of the games graphics wise don't look too great, like unless they are Nintendo exclusives, then they do look good because they're optimized only for the Switch. But other than that, games don't really look that great. They don't perform that great. Even when they're like just like simple indie games, they're not performing like amazingly well. I am looking into buying a PlayStation only because I want to play some other games, and I think if I have the choice between playing a game on the Switch and on the PlayStation, I'll just play on the PlayStation and then I'll just play Nintendo exclusives on the Switch. But I would love a more powerful Switch, and by more powerful I mean like 4K. I need a constant 30 FPS and then maybe 60 if we're feeling funky and crazy, you know? Because I think most games are not even doing like a stable 30 a lot of the time. And I also think for the Switch, the Steam Deck is a massive competition. The Steam Deck basically looks like the Switch, just less like childish. It looks a little bit more mature, and it runs insane titles really well, and it form factor, like, it looks like a Switch. So when you compare the two and the performance, the Switch just becomes more and more disappointing. But obviously the Steam Deck is still quite like a niche platform, considering the Switch has been the highest selling console for the last 5 years, which is insane. Like, the fact that they were able to do that with such an underpowered console. Obviously I love it, it's my favorite console of all time, but I would like something a little bit more powerful. I want more theming and customization of the homepage. It really annoys me that really the only customization is like you make a light mode or dark mode, and then the games are organized by like the last one that you played. But sometimes I'll play like a really crap game and I don't want it to be like the first one up, and then I have to like keep on playing other games to try and push it down. I wish you could just customize it completely the way you want and keep it that way. Like, have your top 10 list of games that you want to play all the time. Like, I just wish there was more customization and just like more layouts. I also think that 3DS and other consoles had more customization. You could change the colors, you can make them pink. I always had my 3DS homepage as like pink, and it was like a bubblegum pink, and you can move the games around. Like, why did the 3DS have more customization than the Switch? Please riddle me that. I want more colors, I want to make my homepage pink, I want to move my games around, you know? I just think this should be such a simple thing to do. I want a better eShop. I think it's very difficult to find new games to play. I've been so burnt out of my Switch lately because I've played so many games and there's not many games coming out. January and February, like the beginning of the year, is usually the time where you don't get many games because it's right after the Christmas season. So I get that like there's not really much happening right now for any console really. But I wish there was just like a better eShop situation. Like, I wish the recommendations were a little bit better. Like, I wish you could have like a recommendations tab where it looks like the games that you have bought and played and you make recommendations based on that. But I also think would be even better is if they looked at your most top played games like by hours, because just because you buy games doesn't mean you like it. But if you've spent like X amount of hours, then they'll like recommend stuff based on that. But I know that's a little bit more complicated, but it would just be fun if they would look at like, oh, you spent 1,000 hours playing this game, well, here's some similar stuff. You know, I just don't think it would be that difficult to do. Animal Crossing New Horizons was good for COVID, but disappointing after, and it was immediately abandoned by the developers, and New Leaf has a place in my heart forever. I think New Leaf was something that I played regardless of what was happening in the world. Like, it was just like a game that I just really wanted to play. New Horizons came out at a perfect time where like lockdowns were just happening, and I would spend literally 10 hours a day just playing this game. That's an exaggeration. Afterwards, it just felt like there were no updates. Things got abandoned, people kind of stopped playing it. It became more of a decoration game than a life sim game. Like, I feel like once I did most of the goals, you know, like the introductory bit, after it just started becoming like a, oh, go on, pluck out some weeds, drop some apples or cherries or whatever you've got, like, and then just decorate your island. Like, it just became like a decoration game instead of providing more of a storyline. That would have been great. I also think talking to the islanders is so soulless again. I think the New Leaf Islanders always had something like really funny to say, so you were more inclined to talk to them, whereas the New Horizons ones are just very like empty feeling. I think New Horizons feels very empty. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone. It just feels very soulless. Once again, I'm calling a lot of these things soulless. That's the only way I can explain it. Also don't like the other island. Like, when you visit another island, I don't really like that system. I preferred it on New Leaf. I thought it was so much more fun. I would go on there literally every day and just like catch other bugs and just sell. Like, it was just so much fun. Whereas with the New Horizons game, I come on and then get overwhelmed with like everything going on, and I'm just leave because there's just a lot going on and I can't, yeah. It just became more depressing than anything. I think if I'm paying a full price for a AAA game, or just paying a full price for a game, like £60, £50, I expect more cutscenes and voice acting. Because like, what else am I paying for? You know? Because when you look at like, I paid £60 for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That game is fully worth £60. I would pay more if they asked me to. The cutscenes are beautiful, the voice acting is beautiful, the sound effects are beautiful, the music's beautiful, the art style's great, the storyline is amazing, the gameplay is great. But then you start playing a different game that also costs £60 or £50, and there's no cutscenes, no voice acting, the music's a bit lacking, there's not really many sound effects. Like, what's going on? You know? Like, if I'm paying £60, I expect it to kind of live up to the Breath of the Wild expectations, which I know is a very high standard. But if you're gonna price yourself at the same price point, you have to provide the same value. And my last one is for all my cozy gamers out there. I just wanna throw it out there. cozy gamers in the gaming community on the internet, I think are still treated like not real gamers. Like, oh, you're not like a real, like you're not actually playing games, you're like playing like mobile games. And I just think if you have a console and you buy games for it, then clearly you play games. Like, that's it. Everyone deserves a little spot in the gaming scene. Let me know any of your Nintendo hot takes, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.